Just calm down, Zeke. We're going to get it done. You're panicked, man. This is not compelling content. So I've not been filming all of this. I had to put some blocking up. And then we're running nailers perpendicular to the joist because I want to orient my ceiling boards this way, parallel to the joist. Another good thing about this is it's going to allow us to move the wiring to where we need it without drilling a bunch of holes through these already old joists. Another thing I've been doing is putting up these little square frames like this. I modified this one to fit around the gutter. But anyway, we're securing these up because I'm going to wrap this probably in some PVC trim. We'll see. But either way, I want to hide the gutter. So, started this out thinking we'll catch the whole process. I don't think this is going to be very fun for anybody because it sucks for me right now. And nobody wants to watch me cut a bunch of stuff and frame it out, right? I mean, it would just be time lapses over and over and over again. A few other cool things that we'll look at, the wiring, how we're going to do all this trim and stuff. But I'm going to skip a lot of stuff because this is terrible. We got the underside framed out. So I'm going to start doing some trim here. Now, I didn't cut this board off. Didn't rip it down. But we need to cut it flush with the band board here. Rim joist, whatever you want to call it. Because the fascia is going to come up. That edge will be flush here. So we got to cut this down. So instead of ripping it before I put it up, we're going to run this Triton down the front here. Got a flush trim bit with these bearings on there. So these bearings will roll on the band board there and allow us to cut the edge of that flush with the band board. I just got this thing earlier this year. Used it once or twice. It is a beast, man. I love it. If you really want to hog some wood off or whatever, this is the ticket. And it wasn't terribly expensive. So we're putting up this Trex fascia board. It's just some white PVC. Because the end caps, well, there aren't end caps for this, so we want to cover that profile up. I'm also going to put a 1x2 piece of PVC trim here. I'm going to cover these seams up. Fortunately, this stuff's pretty light. We're using the same hidden fastener system from Cortex on this. I'm going to use countersinks and screws for you, and we'll put some white plugs in there later. We got to run them down the front and the other side. And be on to the next. We're getting there, kids. We got it wrapped, at least on the front and sides. Do the trim on the top. We got to box this in to cover up the gutter, and then we'll hang the metal. It's starting to look like something. Not the same crap it was anyway. Alright, kids. We'll be back shortly. We got the metal in. I'm going to have the crew come over tomorrow and help me put that up. So we're getting the wiring in. Now, I already had a hot leg up there. It was here when I got here, but I tested it. It's hot. I know where the breaker is, so we're going to tie in here, actually down here. So we fish the wire down through the siding, put a couple switches in there. I got one circuit, which is using this outdoor rated for the fan. And these other wires are for the lights. So we'll have one here, and there, and there, and there, and there. So we'll have 6 lights, 2 fans, Why did I use two different kinds of wiring? Because they share one very important trait. It was free. It's laying around. They're in good shape. It's fine. And it doesn't need to be outdoor rated because it shouldn't get wet. But, we'll bring you back tomorrow for the metal. There's about 1.5 million different ways to cut this shit. We've used saws, grinders. What else? Anything?
Did we use a circular saw?
We did use a circular saw.
Metal blade.
Metal blades, turnaround back. Anyway, I like this little nipper thing. This is just some cheap Harbor Freight brand thing, but it's pretty slick. I don't think she's gonna work.
We got problems?
Got problems. Doesn't work on this ridge.
We'll get back to you.
Oh, we'll round two. What would the lusty trusty cutting wheel? I stand by that thing's awesome for straight metal. It's way faster. Not Zeke, the nibbler.
Zeke!
So we're just gonna cut it with a grinding wheel. Had a grinder with one already on it. You can turn that off. They don't need to watch this shit.
They love this shit.
This has turned into something. This has turned into something that was totally unexpected, but pretty awesome. You see, we found a way to install metal roofing that I guarantee you no one has ever done before. So, I'm an idiot, hence the name of the channel. And I threw a whole bunch of J channel up and trim and all this other stuff thinking, oh, we're going to be ready here, you know, because I thought, these panels are bow enough in the middle, we'll fit them in there. No, that's stupid. They're got ridges on them, which makes them stiffer along their length. It's not going to bend enough. So, what do we have to do? Well, we took this trim off the front and the J channel, and we've just been cutting these panels and sliding them from the end all the way down and then fitting them on top of each other. Is it working? Does it look good? Yeah, so far. But this is literally the dumbest possible way to install metal roofing. And it's not even as a roof. I honestly feel honored, or I don't know, proud, because I can guarantee you no one's ever done this before, because no one is this stupid. But it's working and it's going to look good, so whatever. All right. Hopefully you can see it's up. Is that the smartest way to do it? Hell no. Not even close. But that worked. That's the third one I've put up. I'm about to put the last one up by myself. Got this little random piece of vinyl siding. And I'm just kind of using a wedge in there. Using my pry bar. Prying the edges up and hammering it back till the overlaps work. This is stupid. You should never do it this way. If you find yourself in a similar situation, you should stop and hire someone who knows what they're doing. If you are too stupid to do that, then this is how you could do it. We got to finish out wrapping this header and gutter there. So I made some measurements. We got this piece marked out, laid out. We're cutting these sections so it'll fit up against the post up here. Ideally, I would kind of push that up against the post and mark it with a square to lay out these markings, but you can't hold that overhead and do that. Got our good friends the Clampets up there, May, Jethro, and we'll get this cut out, try to throw that up there, and hope to God it fits, because this Trex fascia trim, it's like $70 a board. One of the best parts about doing trim work like this is cutting out all these little holes like that. It never works the first time. So you get the pleasure of lifting this board up and down these ladders multiple times until you get the cuts right. It's amazing time. This might have worked. There's no way that should have happened. There's one thing though. I'm missing my nailer by like 3/4 of an inch. No big deal. Rip down a piece of 2x4 and just screw it into the side of that one. We'll be good. Look at that, kids. Look, just would you look at that? Would you look at that? My God. If you didn't know any better, you could almost be convinced I know what I'm doing. Almost. All right, that's in. A few little odds and ends to do, but we're gonna start wrapping these posts. Now we gotta turn this pile into a bunch of thinner strips. So we need 14 of them that are 5 1/16. We need 14 that are 3 1/2. I'm gonna spare you the drudgery of watching these go through the table saw. We'll be back. And the coolest thing about watching something on YouTube or social media is how fast it can happen. So we got 14 each, 3 1/2 inches wide over here and about 5 1/16 over here. But that's the cool part about all of that, is this whole thing from start to finish, I've been at it for like 2-3 months now. I mean, life gets in the way. We just got back from vacation. So, you know, things happen. But from your perspective, this thing's going to take like an hour. Sure wish it worked like that in real life. Well, we got these wrapped. Now we got to fill these holes in. I'm going to have to go get a few more screws to put a few more here and there. Fortunately, there's only about, I don't know, 8 billion of these. So, should only take like, I don't know, 6 or 8 years to hammer these all in. It's all about the details. It's time for one of the most satisfying parts of this build. Trim was up, so it's time to do the lighting. I got these little recessed discs. I like these things. Nothing fancy, but we got to cut the holes in the metal. Now, you know, you could have done that, maybe should have done that before we put the metal up. I don't trust myself because I'm terrible at cutting receptacle holes. So I made a little jig to draw a circle on the metal overhead. Came with a piece of paper, but I got to do this 6 times. It's going to be a real pain holding this over my head to mark around it. Luckily, I had these giant magnets laying around. So we're going to use this magnet to hold it in place while I trace around it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But these are some marks I made yesterday. And it was pretty time consuming. So, let's try this. Oh, nice. I was wondering if it was going to hold through the metal, or the wood. Good thing about this is I can use it to kind of visually center it before I make my marks. So we got to do this like 6 times and then cut them all out. We'll be back. First couple holes are in. They're ugly, but it doesn't matter because the flange on these lights are going to cover it up. I'm not going to bore you with all this because all this is already boring enough. I mean, who the hell is even watching at this point? But anyway, we'll wire these up. I'll show you when we get done. So how am I cutting these holes? It's a good question. And I kind of agonized over this myself. Because you scratch the metal up. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you really don't want an insane tear out on this. I tried a bunch of different stuff. I don't know what the right answer is. My first plan was to use a hole saw. But I don't have a hole saw that big. And my local hardware store does not have a 6-inch hole saw. So, you know, I could have ordered one and waited. God, these friggin' beagles. Could have ordered one and waited, but I'm too impatient for that. And I'm tired of working on this thing. Beagles. Anyway, tried a bunch of different stuff. Tried my metal snips. Couldn't get them in there at the right angle. Tried doing it by hand. Took forever. Tried a Dremel. And I was burning through the cutting disc on the Dremel about every 1 inch, maybe 2 inches. So I'm gonna have to change it. God knows how many times to cut each hole. Angle grinder, I'm gonna make a mess out of that. I'll be skipping all over the metal. Jigsaw, I don't have a metal blade for that, and that might be better. But I did have a metal blade for the reciprocating saw. So drilled a couple 1/2-inch pilot holes in it so I can get my blade in, and that's working pretty good. I've made some scratches on the paint because I wasn't paying attention to where, you know, the rest of my saw was at. I will say I'm still having to trim it up with a hand trimmer to get it in there, but reciprocating saw was the best one. Hole saw might be, but I didn't have the chance to try it. There you go. Thought it might be worth showing how these lights work. So the light itself, you got these little spring clips, and that's what holds it onto the wall. You're going to bend these up and force it through the hole. But they come with this little plug. in a separate junction box. So these plug in there. Now you're going to wire this up. Now one of the cool things I've noticed about these, and I bought this Halo brand before, it already comes pre-installed with these little connectors, these push connectors. So all you got to do is strip your wire down and push it in. But the best part about that, in my opinion, is, you know, we're running these lights in series through here. So most of them are going to require a jumper that goes onto the, you know, the next part of the circuit. These have 4 holes, which makes it really easy. You know, you push your power in, you can push another one in there to run off to the next light in the series, and then they got these little knockouts on either side for you to put your wire in, and then this just swings closed. Obviously this will be tucked in there. So you're going to wire these up separately, and you plug the light into this. It's got a little screw down there, a little nut to secure it, and then pop it in the hole. Shh. Listen. It's a country night, kids. So we got the lights in. All 6 of them. So we skipped some more stuff. It's just too much going on. I'm going to split it up, do a video on the other stairs, on wrapping the stairs, trimming out the door. I didn't do one on installing the door, but we're done for all intents and purposes. Fans and lights are in. Zeke is super freaked out. New door and stairs are up. Switches and fan controls are in. Still got a lot to do. Got to do something about covering this block down here. Probably do some stone veneer. We need new siding at some point, but that's for another day. A couple little posts here to trim out. Now eventually we're going to have a set of spiral stairs, probably right here, to go up to the finished deck that we got to get railing on. But it's fall now, and I've spent the entire summer working on this just exactly like I said I wasn't going to. So the stairs in the upper deck, they're probably going to wait till next year. We'll see. I got a lot of other stuff going on. Who knows what's going to strike me, but we'll get there when we get there. Are we done now, Zeke? Have we finally finished this? You got to put your seal of approval on it, bro. What do you think? Looks good to me, Zeke. You did a good job.